Moving forward to topic 8 of the night, the OBJ rehab. And I wanted to talk about the Saquon Barkley rehab too. Both these guys, primetime NFL players, two of the best players in the NFL, both rehabbing the same injury, an ACL knee injury, but they both seem hungry and they are both grinding to get back on the field.
Yeah, I saw that, I think they were teammates for 1 year with the Giants, but they've been friends since. Obviously, two elite players in the NFL. As there you see OBJ rehabbing his knee there. I saw that Saquon Barkley, as soon as he tore his ACL, he kind of he said he went to like a dark place for a few days, and he was just, very upset about getting injured and probably got a little depressed. And I think when you know another guy who's going through the exact same thing you are, and you can train together and you can work at it together, and you're going through the same, it's just like football camp, like one of the biggest things playing football was like you looked at the guy next to you when you were going through 2-a-days and 3-a-days and wind sprints and all that kind of stuff, that he was going through the same thing or she was going through the same thing. And I think we're seeing that here with these two guys. They're rehabbing together, and I think they're going to push each other, and they're also going to lean on each other because I'm sure there's days where, it's really tough when you're rehabbing an injury like this. Because the other thing is, too, when you're rehabbing an injury and you can't do, full practice and all that kind of stuff, once those guys got injured during the season, especially during the pandemic, they weren't around their teammates. They couldn't go to the facility. They couldn't go to practice. They were probably on Zoom meetings and whatnot, but they couldn't actually physically be at practice because of the pandemic. And then game day, they don't want to be around when that's going on. So because they're done for the year. So I think them getting together is only going to help each other, rehab from this injury. I think these guys are going to come back a lot stronger because they're working together.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys have been grinding it out. I've been following their progress on social media. OBJ has been posting a lot routinely about his workouts and how he's really getting back to being his normal self, and it's coming fast. And I mean, and same for Saquon. He's been posting really good workouts lately of him rehabbing his knee and getting back into form. And we're talking about two of the best players in the NFL, two of the most explosive players in the NFL, and both recovering from a big injury. And arguably the biggest injury that you can get in sports is the ACL. And I guess the other arguable one would be the Achilles. The Achilles and the ACL are the two biggest, most common injuries that you'll see in common sports, like a football, basketball, or hockey, or anything like that. So to see them recovering from this injury, a big injury, so fast and grinding it out, I think it really shows, obviously, their talent level is just shining through, but also their work ethic to get back on the field and do what they love, which is play the game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys back on the field. And I'm telling you, one of these two guys is going to be your comeback player of the year. It's just going to be, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be OBJ in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield getting him the ball, or is Saquon going to run wild when he comes back? So it's like, I don't know. It's a tough call, but I've got my money on OBJ. I sent Ben this training video of OBJ on the treadmill where he was flying. And I mean, this guy was moving. And this is, like I said, fresh off that ACL injury. So he's looking really good. He's working hard to get back on the field. I'm really looking forward to seeing these two guys back on the field.
Yeah, same here. If I'm going to pick comeback player of the year, I'm actually going to go with Saquon. I think it's when you see a running back come back from an ACL injury, and even though I can't stand this guy, and we won't get into what he did off the field, but when Adrian Peterson came back from a torn ACL and ran, I think it was like it was like 6 months or something. It was a really quick turnaround from when he tore his ACL, got back on the field. It looked like the same guy. When you see a running back do that, it just seems like an even bigger accomplishment. Not that it isn't with a receiver, but when a running back, runs the ball 25 times a game. Barkley's a great receiver out of the backfield too. He's going to get the ball probably 30 times a game. So if he goes back to that after recovering from a torn ACL, that to me is just unbelievable. And if the Giants, who are starting to spend a little money in free agency, if they get back to, possibly the playoffs next year, and Barkley's their starting running back, and he's having a huge year. I mean, I think he would be the guy for a comeback player of the year. But if he struggles, I think OBJ is definitely the guy. So it'll be very interesting to see how those guys recover, and knowing the work ethic of those two. And then, Saquon Barkley, those tree trunks of legs, I think are going to recover pretty well from that torn ACL. So it's going to be fun to watch when those guys get back out on the field.